Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name is Stephen Clark and I'm joined as always with my co-host Nick Ponte. How are you, Nick?
I'm good, thanks. I'm a wee bit blown away, to be honest, with that interview that we just did with Alex Walker. So, like we just talked there, Alex is 52. He's a self-managing landlord, but guess what? He's got nearly 200 properties and...
Yeah, well, he's at 135, but he's planning to get to 200 by the end of this year. And Nick, you've hit the nail on the head. I'm kind of a bit flabbergasted myself as well because we kind of all get bogged down in the details, doing our refurbs and adding to our portfolio slowly. He does it all himself. He self-manages them. He's got systems in place. He's been doing it for 20 years. He grows. He continually grows and evolves. And what he was sharing on the interview was brilliant. I mean, there was nothing. I suppose that none of us maybe wouldn't know, but it just shows you that doing the hard work, putting in effort, the consistent effort over a prolonged period of time can get you phenomenal results.
I think it was interesting because quite a lot of time we say, right, as an investor, you're going into this as a property investor, so you don't want the hassle of managing your properties, put it out to a letting agent. But he's gone completely the other way. He said he's tried letting agents, said that it just wasn't for him. He likes to have a hand on it. He likes to just be hands on it. You can tell he's got a passion for it and he just loves the business. So, outsourcing everything's not for everyone. But it's interesting. It was a great interview, to be honest.
It was good, and I think it's quite rare to speak to guys like Alex as well, because a lot of times that you feel that people, the older school generation are either gone from the industry, they lost everything in 2008 crash, or they're just kind of over the changes. And I mean, this industry changes constantly. They maybe just got fed up with it, pissed off with the tenants, whatever issues they've got. They just kind of it's quite a rarity to find someone that's been in the game that long and just kept staying consistent. So I think when you meet someone like that, and I was going to say that to you there, Nick, that you ask him the slightest little question and he just goes off, and because he's got all this knowledge and experience and stories to share, that he just goes for it. And guests like that are brilliant to interview, and I think this is why we love doing the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously we missed an opportunity because Stephen's like, I need to work out his cash flow figures on his portfolio. We never actually asked him, but what do you reckon, Stephen?
Well, he did mention a couple of times that his rental incomes were about £600, £650, and about £600 for 135 units. Well, he was telling me that. I was sitting on my calculator on my phone working out about 81 grand a month income from it. So there'll be a fair bit of cash flow there, and he's reaping the rewards. He did touch on that as well, about the fact that he worked a lot of hours, starting this off, and he's only starting to reap the rewards the last couple of years. He didn't do it too soon. He didn't go for the fancy cars, watches earlier on, and the nice holidays. He's only just doing that in recent years, so it's good for him. It's good to see.
So I got my figures wrong a little bit there at the start. So he's wanting to get to 200 properties. That's his goal, but he's at 135 at the moment. But he says that he can ramp that up quite quickly.
Which, I mean, it's an interesting thing as well, because you've got to look at someone that's got that much experience and that much knowledge and seen the industry kind of go up and down over the years, how right now in this current climate with prices going up and the global pandemic and coronavirus, he is purchasing and adding to his portfolio, want to double, and almost want to add 30-40% onto his portfolio. So it's interesting what he must be seeing in the market, and he must see there's an opportunity right now to ramp it up as well.
Yeah, he goes into all the systems as well, how he manages that size of property portfolio himself, all the systems. He goes into a lot of detail. He goes into the system of actually acquiring properties as well. Now, a lot of you will be like, where do we find these magical deals? I don't think he's looking for anything magical or anything amazing. I think he's just looking for good, solid hooses, as they call them.
And obviously, he's got the advantage of momentum behind him. He's have bought them for maybe 50, 60 grand, 40 grand, I think he touched on as well. So if he's been buying for that long, they'll definitely went up in value. So he's definitely got momentum. He's got equity to grow, and he can leverage cash. He can leverage lending. So yeah, and if he's bringing that kind of cash flow every month, he's certainly going to have cash reserves to. He doesn't need to look for the kind of the BRR deals that maybe a lot of people are starting out and building a portfolio are looking for. He can maybe pay a good bit more. So
yeah, quick disclaimer as well. We'll just cut to the interview just now, but he was out on the road. I don't know where he'd parked up his fancy new Range Rover, but there wasn't a great signal there, so it did kind of cut out a few times. So bear with it, and just kind of apologies for the quality, and hope you enjoy the interview with Alex Walker.
It's really just an informal chat, mate. We'll just do a wee intro and stuff like that, and chat about your experiences and kind of I'm sure you're going to have a huge amount of value to give to the listeners as well. But before we kick off, can you give a wee bit of an intro to Nick, just so he kind of knows what your background is, and so he can think of questions to ask you as well?
Okay, so hi Nick. So my name's Alex. I've been in the property business for about 20 odd years. I say the odd, probably about 22 years or something. What I think happens a lot just now is people physically go into the property business, but what happens with myself is I kind of fell into it backwards, you know. So I met a girl, as I say, I ended up going with her. I tried to sell my house, I couldn't sell it, so I just rented it out. And nobody was really renting it, and a tenancy agreement was basically an A4 sheet of paper, and that was it. And then what happened was, and it was a handshake, and that was a tenancy agreement. You know, we agreed like £150 a fortnight. I used to collect it fortnightly, and that was fine. And then what happened was, so I moved in with her, and then I decided, well, why don't we get a house together and we'll rent out your house? But I did actually try to sell my house for whatever reason. This is way back in the year 2000. I tried to sell it and I couldn't sell it, so we ended up renting out her house. And it was that kind of eureka moment, you know, when you just kind of, whether it be property or something else, selling widgets online, all of a sudden you realise, Christ, everybody's wanting these widgets, you know. And that was the eureka moment for me, was when I realised I was actually making more money from renting out property than I was on my day job. And it was, you know, so I went part-time in my day job and then went full-time in the property business, you know, and that's basically, and then just kind of multiplied it from there, you know. So that's basically what happened.
And what was your day job at the time, Alex?
So at the time I was just working in Sky Television. I was on the phones. So I was, good morning, welcome to Sky, you speak to Alex, how can I help you? So it was that constant, you know, and that was it, you know. It was just like, I mean, it was pure commission, and you obviously got a wee bit of a wage, but you made your money on the sales, you know. So it was constant, up, all day, every day. So it was one of the jobs where I had a high turnover of employees, because it's quite a monotonous job. Good morning, welcome to Sky, good morning, welcome to Sky. So, you know, people get fed up with that. So there wasn't, whereas me, I had a very young family at the time, so for me it was ideal because it was easy work. Had your headset on, you know, these guys, they phone up and go, you know, I know India and all that shit on now, but still, back then it was the Scots.
You know how to get a discount on all your Sky Sports packages and all that. You'll know all the tricks how to get a discount then.
Well, that was the thing, and we had, I mean, I still use this today, but we had ammunition. So, you know, somebody would phone up and they go blah blah blah, and I'd say, well, I tell you what, I'll just check. I'll see if I can do it. I'm not sure, but let me put you on hold. Now, if I can get this deal for you, are you going to go ahead with the sale? Oh yeah, right, okay. Let me put you on hold. Put me on hold. Have a wee stretch. Right, I tell you, you're very lucky. And then you would give them the, you know, you say, right, great news, you've got the Sky Sports, and then bang, you get. But really, I mean, Sky, you know, had ammunition, gave us ammunition to get the sales. And it's a bit like that with property. You know, tenant will phone up and they'll go, well, would you put a new gate on the back fence, or would you replace the fence? Now, if you're getting, like, the average, what I do, right, is if an average rent in the area is 600, I always charge more. And the reason why I charge more, I always charge 50 quid more than the market rate. And it's just something I've learned over the years. And what I find is charging that extra 50 quid, what they do is they feel that, oh, he's a brilliant landlord. Oh, he's brilliant. He put a new fence up for me last year. But what they don't realise is they're paying for it, because they're paying extra 50 quid a month. So if the rent is 50 quid, I always charge, if the rent's 600, I always charge 650. And I get it, and I get that extra rent, and they stay with us because they think, oh, he's a great landlord, which I am. But they're happy with that, because, you know, but they're paying for it, you know,
I like that, because that extra 50 pound a month rolled over a big portfolio is a huge difference to income, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's provided. It's like anything. I'm talking to you guys through an iPhone 12 Plus Max, top of the range, all singing and dancing. But it's a great product, you know. And this is costing me. It's actually 50 quid a month. I actually looked at buying one with 1,200, or you can pay 50 quid a month there 2 years, which is 1,200 quid. But you can also get a cheap phone for like a tenner a month. But the thing is, people will pay extra for a good product, and that's the same whether you're in all walks of life, whether you're buying a nice shirt or buying a nice car or whatever. People will pay extra. So provide a good product, and what I find is that with the good product, you'll get the good tenants. Does that make sense? So you'll get the guys that can afford $650 a month. You don't want the ones that are scrimping and scraping, trying to get 500, and you're providing a rubbish, not a rubbish service, but you're providing a cheaper service. If you provide a better carpets, better quality kitchen, and so on, they will pay that wee bit more. I think so. It works for me, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And
Yeah.
I think if you give somebody a decent something like that's worth looking after, then they are definitely more likely to look after it. So 100% agree with you.
You've got a unique strategy, haven't you, Alex? You've got a unique property type that you can always go for, don't you?
Yeah, I stick with 2-bed terrace. Don't get me wrong. I think any business has made mistakes, and the thing with property is once you've bought it, you've kind of got it for life. You know, it's like boom, that's it for life. And I do have flats that I wish I hadn't bought. That's what I'm going to see just now. Is one of my flats in Grangemouth, but I don't buy flats just now. All I buy is terrace properties, 2-bed terrace properties. And I think I'm not saying it's important, but I think it's good if you find a niche that you're good at. Like, some people might go into Edinburgh and they just concentrate on 2- and 3-bed flats, and that's all they buy all day, every day. But myself, I stick with my wee terrace houses, 2- and 3-bedders in places like Grangemouth, Falkirk, West Lothian, Wishaw, Motherwell, all these kind of central belt. So within about a maximum of about a 45-minute drive from where I live, and just kind of run about that circle. And that does me, and I get the wee. And what I find is with the terrace houses, you get the families moving in. So you get the mum, the dad, the 2 kids, or the single mum with the 3 kids or whatever. And what you tend to find is once they're in that local school, they're in there forever. And you've got them for 10, 12, 15 years. And a lot of I was at one earlier on this morning. The guy actually said, as God's honest truth, the guy actually said, the first time I've seen you, I said, oh, well, that's nice to meet you. 7 years I've been here. I know it's the truth. I hadn't met the guy before. I didn't even know what he looked like. I spoke to him on the phone a few times, but I didn't know what he looked like. Now, he stays in a 3-bed end terrace house, semi-detached, and he's got it absolutely gorgeous, absolutely lovely. He was asking about his patio. This is what I was saying earlier on. So he was asking about his patio doors. Now, we kind of patched them up over the years, and the patio doors are knackered. Sliding door and kind of fixed window. I said, you know what, we'll just get it all replaced for you. He's paying about $750 rent. Do you know what I mean? The house is absolutely beautiful inside. He's got it as his home, and it'll cost me maybe 15, 12, between $1,000 and $1,500 to replace the whole patio. But he'll think I'm God. Do you know what I'm saying? He'll be like, oh, hallelujah, Alex, I love you, Alex. So that's the difference between, and I think that's the thing. He'll be over the moon with that, you know.
No, that's good, mate. Alex, can you talk a wee bit more about right at the start how you managed to kind of scale up your portfolio? Because your portfolio is a considerable size, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got about 175 properties, and I'm in the process of buying 10 literally as we speak. And I'm trying to get up to 200 before the end of this year. Now, I've got a wee presentation coming up on the old PIN in the next month, actually. But one of the things, when I started, I'm going to say it was easier because it was just different. Do you know what I mean? So, for example, interest rates were about 6%, you know. But then again, you only had to come up with 15% deposit. Now you have to come up with 25%, and you've got the 4% stamp duty. But then again, the interest rates are a lot lower. The regulations are different. So anybody starting out for the first time, I still say you can still do it. You know, I've got some close friends that are in the property business, and have said to me, but you can do now what you did back then, back in the year 2000. And I think, yeah, you definitely could. And the only thing is, it's slightly different, and it is about the momentum thing, you know. And I hear a lot of this: buy, refurbish, rinse, repeat, buy, and so on and so on. But it's kind of common sense. You buy a house, no falling apart, don't overwhelm yourself. So you buy a house for maybe say 60,000, you put 10 grand in it, you're up to 70. The house is worth about 90. You remortgage it 6 months later, get majority of your money back, and you repeat it. And while you're doing that, you're working your back end off, trying to get as much overtime in your job, and because that's what I did. I worked in Sky, and I was doing all the overtime, so I did many hours. You know, I wasn't working 9 to 5. I actually had friends that worked 9 to 5, and I'd be in at 8 o'clock. They'd come in at 9, see me, then they'd go home at 5. I'd still be there, and then the next morning they'd come in and I'd look as if I hadn't went home, because they were like, "Have you got a bed under there?" You know. But it was just because, you know. So I worked from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. But my wife at the time, not my wife at the time, sorry, my wife at the time said that she felt like a single mum, because my kids were only like 1 and 2 at the time, and she felt like a single mum because I worked all the hours God sends. And I think if you're wanting that, you have to have that fire in the belly, and that fire is, I want this now. There's a lot of people, it's like during the middle of the pandemic, most people fell into 2 brackets. You had the ones that had done really well, that worked really hard and done really well, and then you had the other ones that just sat and watched Netflix, you know, and got a couple of beers and chilled out for a year.
That's
so
like,
it's better, you know, the ones that, you know, so it just depends what bracket, but you can still do it. It's just hard work, persistent, and just repeat. You know, become the McDonald's. You know, you buy a Big Mac, you buy it in Scotland, London, New York, whatever. That Big Mac's the same, and you just repeat that. You're same kitchen, same bathrooms, just repeat it. So, and that's the same in any business, you know, whether you're selling stuff online or selling cars or daying up houses, and just find the thing that you're good at and just copy it and repeat it.
It's good to hear you say that, Alex, as well, because people do think that they always look for the quick fix, the quick win, the quick riches, and we all know there isn't such a thing as a quick fix, a quick win. It's constant hard work, it's long hours, it's sacrifice you make away from the family and the times you can miss out on to work the hours to make sure you keep building, accumulating. So it's nice to see that from someone who's away to hit 200 properties this year, and people that maybe starting out thinking, "Oh, bloody hell, this is hard work. I'm going to try to get a few this year." So it's nice to see that it still doesn't end. It still requires hard work and sacrifice. I'm assuming that's a different story for you now that you've the business is up and running and a bit more systemised, and maybe people working for you a bit better now, no?
Yeah, I mean, like any business, you always go through situations whereby every business makes mistakes, no matter what business it is, whether it be Jeff Bezos or Alex Walker, doesn't matter. Everybody makes mistakes. Now, one of the mistakes I made was I had a whole bunch of people working for me. And when you're doing maintenance, for example, it was they're getting a wage, so they just take their time. You know, now what I do is I use contract workers, but I've seen the whole industry change to a good thing, and it's a lot more automated. For example, there's I use fixed flow, which you never had before. Hold on, mate, I get a pen, I'll write that down. What's the matter with the thing? And then you're phoning up the other guy and you're writing it down. Now it's all automated. Even like things like open rent is what you just put your advert in and it puts it out to all the websites for you. So there's a lot more. How can I say? There's a lot more, and all that software and stuff is available now for somebody starting out with 2 or 3 houses. But the way to do it, I mean, the bit of advice, if I was talking to my younger self, I would say, well, aim for one house. Just get one house this year. Just don't think about 100 houses. Just get one house, get it nice, get it rented out, join the PIN meetings and the spider property stuff and all these other things, and meet people people and become kind of part of your kind of lifestyle. Make new friends in the property business, because your pals in the property business are different for the pals that for school, because their mindset will be different. They'll just think, you're wasting your money. No. So really, that's what I would say.
So, mate, I was just saying that becomes your network, the people around you, the people in property and the people in business, the people who've got the same interests as you. They become your kind of your life, your network, which kind of drives and inspires you more, doesn't it, than the guys in the pub talking about the football.
Yeah, absolutely. And you enjoy. And what I find in this is when you're talking about property to your pals for school and the pub or whatever, they're kind of not really interested in your experiences and tenancies and all the rest of it. Whereas when you're talking to somebody that's in the property game, they're like, "Oh, hi, well, what did you do?" And you two, you get a bit of banter and you can have a really good conversation. I mean, I'll meet some friends at a coffee in Edinburgh or whatever, and I'll have a really good chin wag all about property. And but if I was talking to my other pals, then they'd be like, "Oh, I'm bored." So,
I know, I can understand that. I've had the same conversations. So I was really interested to know there, right? Obviously, you're approaching 200 properties now. That's a significant amount. I mean, that's potentially 200 boilers breaking down. 200 tenants phoning you up, etc. So how do you go about the management of this, portfolio? Have you got it outsourced to a letting agent, or do you take care of that yourself?
So again, I've done everything. I've employed people. I've used letting agents. I've done it myself. I've employed family. I'm not a big fan of that. I do it all myself. Okay, and it's the technology's there to make life easy. So if I have a tenant phone me, I'll text them back, and I don't answer the phone. And I'll say, "Sorry, I missed your call. Please text back." Now, if they then text me, say, "Oh, my boiler's not working," and then again, it's all about using technology. It's then and send them a template text to say, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically say, "Hi there, can you put all your information on the fixed flow? Here's the link. Just click on it and follow the on-screen instructions." That then he then clicks on it. It tells him what to do. That then comes back to me. I look at it and I say, right, okay, well, that now goes to the electrician, the gas guy, or whoever it is. I then send it to them. I then send the tenant the engineer's details, saying, if he doesn't contact you within the next so many days, blah, 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 you can phone him direct, here's his number. So it's kind of like a triangle. So there's me, the tenant, the engineer, and that's it. And to be honest with you, that whole call, that whole thing takes me, I would say, about 25 seconds, and that's it. I'm not interested. That's it. Boom, job done. The thing is, the reason why I'm still in the triangle, if you like, is so that then I can just get a wee eye on it to make sure it's done. So at the end of the week, make sure it's done. But they talk about this A-team, having your A-team. But a lot of it's really just down to common sense. Having good, honest, trustworthy people. You'll know yourself. If you've got a tradesman and all of a sudden all his prices are going up, you're like, hold on a minute. There's something not right here. But if his prices are roughly thereabouts, if he's going to fix a boiler, but if every boiler that goes out to is like needing replaced, then he's at it. But and that build up of trust, if you like, is built up over a number of years. But yeah, I've got like 2 or 3 gas engineers. I've got 1 good electrician. I've got about 15, 20 tradesmen that I kind of send out the jobs to. But that's just trades. So if you look at renting out a property, I use open rent. So and again, I mean, I've actually got it right down to a T, so tight that it's actually very easy for me to, because what I do is I get them to fill in a text application on the phone, and when they fill in the text application, once they fill in the text application, it then comes back to me. I then look at that and then I write all over it to just waste of time. And I score them 1 out of 5, a 3.4, a 3. And then I phone up the top end ones and I say, "Hi there, great news. We'd like to offer you the house." "Oh, that's great." We take £100 holding deposit. We use Square for that. And then once we take the holding deposit, we then do the referencing. We use Vouch for that. And then a lot of it's just common sense, So
that's amazing. I mean, that is amazing, actually. Oh, sorry. bit of a delay in the line there. I mean, that is amazing. You must be quite a kind of rare. You're certainly a rare breed, because most landlords, when they get to a certain scale, they'll kind of offload that to somebody to deal with it. But it seems like you're pretty hands on, and you've just described how you use systems and technology to make that whole portfolio manageable for you day to day, right? So that's really amazing. I mean, hats off to you. But how much of your time would you say that the management of the properties kind of takes up of your week? Your week, is it pretty much a full-time job, or
No, I think when I use a letting agent, the part of my job, say 100%, we'll say 40 hours a week. That's a better way to describe it. That's the average working week. So 40 hours a week. When I used a letting agent, I was managing the letting agent, and I was probably spending, I would say, about 20 hours a week getting the houses into shape, getting them ready to go. I still did that. They didn't do that. So, but now I probably spend about 10, 15 hours a week daily managing the properties. But the other time is like the house I'm going to see just now, and the houses I went to see this morning was all today. So I have my out and about day. I don't drive, so I have my out and about day, and I go, I use Google Maps the night before, and I just work out my route. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not kind of all over the place, and I only go out on average about twice a week. I'll go out and about just to see my tenants or properties or whatever it is. But as I said earlier, I never see the tenants. I don't even know what half the tenants look like. You could have two heads for all I care. But the thing is, it's all about having systems in place and just managing these systems. But it's dead easy. Once you get the systems in place and you get it down to a T, I think, to be honest with you, I reckon the majority of my time is taken up with getting houses into shape and buying new houses. I would say about 30 hours a week is doing that. The other 10 is managing the properties. If I stopped buying houses tomorrow, I'd probably work part-time, put it that way, And that's about having systems in place that does it all for you.
Right, so I'm really interested to kind of go back a wee bit to, obviously, when you left Sky as the call center operative, and then you scaled up to nearly 200 properties. So we've kind of there's this whole bit in between about the whole scaling up and acquiring the property and buying the properties. Like finance, how did you do that? How did you manage to fund all these properties? Like, was it just reinvesting? Did you get equity built up? Like, tell us a little bit about all that.
So basically, I've always went for yield, and so when I worked for Sky, right? So back in the day, right? I'm working for Sky, and I get one property. Then, as I say, that was one I lived in, and then me and Janice moved into a house, and we then to do her house. So we had two houses, right? Now you're working away, you're making your money, you're taking home, say, £1,500 a month, was a lot of money then. Working like basically the equivalent to 100 hours a week, and you're getting £1,500 a month. That's great. But no, don't forget, as you're making £200-300 a month on your two flats as well. So you're making basically $2,000 a month. So all of a sudden, after a period of about 6 months, you can start to think, and it snowballed really, really quick. I would say it took me within about 5 years, I went from almost like 2 or 3 houses to 100 houses really, really quick, because this was before 2008, and the banks were throwing money at you. They would just want you to buy my memory. So so as soon as I bought a house, now I have to wait 6 months. So as soon as I bought a house, I get a wee coat of paint, and you can't really do that now, but you get a wee coat of paint. You buy it for, say, 60,000 was always my maximum. You buy it for 60,000. You get the guy doing for the Bank of Scotland, or in this case it was Birmingham Midshire, and you would say, oh yeah, I've done put new windows in, I've done this. And they would go, right, okay, well, we'll up it. We think there's an extra 10 grand in there. Right, okay, great. So 10 grand isn't so much. If you got 5 houses, you just bought 5. You get 10 grand on each. You got 85% was the loan to value back then. The 85% is 42.5, I think. 42,500. So straight away, and don't forget, you can buy the next house for under 60 grand. No stamp duty, 60 grand, 15% was 9 grand, plus a grand for legals. So if you got 42.5, that got you 4 houses. Yeah. So straight away, you went from, say, 10 houses to 14. And then as soon as you got the 14 when to do it, you're back to thing, and then you were up to 20. and then you're up to 30. And then what you did is you went back the way and looked at the first loan that you remortgaged a year ago. And you said, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. No, obviously, all you did was, again, and don't forget, is I had 2 vans on the road. I was working on the Scott said, so I was doing it all myself. You really need to get your elbows dirty, get right in there, get in amongst the dirt. Don't phone. No, I'm contractor, right? Boom. But I can afford to do that. It doesn't bother me spending. It doesn't bother me spending like 80 quid to get a plumber out to fix a toilet. That doesn't bother me. Back then, I was like, what? £80? No, I'll do that. No, I'm doing the plunger. Get myself covered in the but and I'm talking about new tech. So you need to get your hands dirty. You need to work really, really hard. Nobody's going to, unless you've got a rich uncle, nobody's going to get. So come back to your original question: is it can still be done in
Alex,
it's a wee bit harder,
Tell me, you've still got a plunger on the back of that Range Rover that you're in at the moment, haven't you?
So I've got key locks. I've got key locks and key boxes. That's what I've got now. See, times I went on. So I've got key box. I jump out and show you, but I've got key locks now. So what I do is I put in key locks on the outside of all the properties, with the wee numbers. So they're handy. So when I come to rent out a property, as I say, I don't see the tenant. If it's done online, I use DocuSign. Even the tenancy agreement signed online. And then when the tenant's ready to go, again, I send them a wee template text to say, congratulations on your new house. Here's the key code. The keys will be on the outside. Tenants don't see the house, and if they start asking too many questions, I just think maybe you should find something else. Maybe this house isn't for you. You know what I mean? So I try to find, so you're looking for that golden tenant, and they do exist, Right, there's no plunger.
This is going to be part of your huge growth, Alex. Is you seem to always evolve with the times. Like you're coming up with technology I didn't even know about, and you must have been some years on me, and I'm like, what? That system, that software. So has that been part of your kind of continuous growth? It's just learning and evolving, and if something new comes in that makes your life easier, just adapt it and put it straight in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technology. I mean, I used to be a software engineer, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a really intelligent guy or whatever. I went back to college when I was in like 25 or something like that. But I was about 25. But software should be super simple to use. It shouldn't be complicated. It shouldn't be like, and it's a bit like, I'm looking at a new piece of software right now as we speak, and your business always needs to evolve and grow. And the software that I'm using is called landlord now. And the fella that's been really helpful, and I'll let you know if it's any good. I can't vouch for it now till I've used it for a wee while. But the way to think about it is look at it like a car. If the software is all singing and dancing and does 200 mile an hour, you don't want it to do 200 mile. You just want to go 30 mile an hour to start off with. Just learn the basics, and then once you're happy with being a learner, if you like, you're happy with 30 mile an hour, then bump it up to add a wee bit more bells and whistles at 50, and then when you get the hang of it, start going on the motorway and start doing a wee bit more singing and dancing with it. But when you use any new software, it should be super simple. The problem being is there's that many software out there, and a lot of it can be kind of overwhelming that you just, it becomes a brain mess. So you just so the best way to do it is just use basic software that people have used, and keep it simple. That's it. Keep it simple.
So, Alex, that's great. I was going to ask you about obviously you acquired the bulk of your portfolio pre-2008. So, coming into 2008 when all the shit hit the fan, what was your reaction then? How did you kind of weather that storm? Did you manage to hold on to all your properties? Did you have to refinance, or how did you kind of, obviously you're talking about 85% loan to value. That's quite heavily exposed. So were you okay? What happened there?
So when you've got nothing to lose, and somebody says to you, I'll give you loans, so 100% loan to value, for example, and I didn't get that, but just you did. What would you got to lose? Nothing, absolutely nothing to lose. So you would take it. Now, when I had nothing, you have to remember, I came from nothing. you know. And but when I say nothing, some people have got maybe a mum and dad where they've got that kind of safety net, if you like. I had nothing, you know. Trust me. So I know I sound like out of the fiddle. Anyway, so I bought my properties. I actually was stopped at 100 houses and about 2008. And weather the storm, really what happened is around about 2008, I stopped buying, and I was quite happy with it. I wasn't going to buy anything, and I just enjoyed the money I what else? I've done extensions. I just made my improved my properties. I just made my my portfolio better. You know, even though the technology wasn't there, you know, it was still a lot of hands-on. You know, but I made it better, and I was quite happy with that. And then it was, and this is all about the networking thing. This is why it's always important to do the networking, because I went to Scottish Social Landlord, Sal. I went to one of their meetings, and there was a guy for the Bank of Scotland, I always remember it, and he's standing up there, right, and he's like, we're lending money. Nobody, this is about 2010, about this time, and literally nobody was lending money. And he's like, we're lending money. We've got money. We're giving it out. We're happy to lend money. So I had a meeting with a guy. I had a coffee with a guy. Went down and I met him in Morrison's and Bathgate. You know, was it Morrison's and Livingston? Morrison's and Livingston. Bathgate was there. So Morrison's and Livingston. Anyway, so the fees were expensive. The deposit was huge, but hooses were dirt cheap. I was getting hooses for about, honestly, 40, 45. Nobody was buying them. You know, I bought put it this way. This is a great example. I bought a house in Bathgate, semi-detached, 50 grand, and it was a repo, and nobody wanted it. It was sitting there, it smelled of dampness inside because it's that empty. So this was about 2010, 11, 12. I bought about 30 houses. Nobody bought. I bought about 30 houses. So sitting on 130 odds by about 2012, 13, and I stopped buying again. And then COVID struck last year, and it was just the back end of 2019 I started buying again. So from 2019 to today, I bought 40 odd houses. Most of them were bought in the last year and now this year. And the reason being is because nobody else was buying, and everybody was saying. I remember everybody was saying, "I'm going to wait till the pandemic's over and house prices crash." I was like, no, because house prices are cheap and they're quite good. The numbers add up. So if the numbers add up, buy. If the numbers don't add up, don't buy. And so the numbers added up during the middle of the pandemic. And I'm not saying I've done anything. I'm just using common sense. If you see a house that the numbers add up, so a year ago, I was buying houses for about 60, 70,000, and I was renting them out for about 600 quid. These same houses, honestly, they've all went up 10 grand. It's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it allows me to lease equity, but on the other hand, if I go buy more houses, they're now 10 grand dearer. Do you know what I mean? So it's that double-edged sword. But you just have to kind of, it's almost like, it's not an exact science. It's just kind of common sense. Think to yourself, well, can I make money at this? I mean, if a 2-bedroom flat right now is 80,000 and the mortgage is going to be, say, just under 200 quid, then I can rent it out for 650. Yeah, I'm going to do it because I'm going to make 400 quid. I give 50 quid for maintenance, a couple of quid for the mortgage, and that gives me 400 quid. Of course, I'm going to do it. So when is the right time to buy? It's always now. So although the market's doing this, I'm still going to buy houses right now. And as I say, I'm in the process of buying 10. And once the 10 are done, I'll probably put another 15 at the back, and then I'll probably stop for a wee while, and then just kind of sniff about and see what's kicking about. But there's no exact science. It's just keep the business rolling constantly and try to evolve it, but try and keep it simple.
Did you get a lending fund available for these purchases, and Alex, like a Bank of Scotland kind of lending fund that will kind of lend on your portfolio and release more equity for you to go and buy more and in bulk?
No, it was a business loans, back in 2012-13 when I got the when they say that we'll lend money, it was business loans, so it was quite high interest. I think I was paying something like, I was like 6.5%, you know, but it was still cheap, you know, because the number still added up. So you just have to keep your eye on the kind of overall ball, if you like, you know. It's about like if you bought a house and you're going to flip it, and the guy says, right, I know we agreed 100 grand, but I want 110, or I'm going to walk away. You'd think, oh Jesus, now, if you know it's worth 150, still buy it 110 because you're still going to make 40 grand if that's a kind of really kind of bad example. But that's an example. Don't cut your face, cut your nose, spite your face, sort of thing. So it's kind of one of these things there where I would probably always go with the deals that, you know, there's deals everywhere. But as I say, no, it was just business loans. There wasn't any mortgages as such. And then when I did remortgage them,
property on that. So have you individual mortgages for each property still at the moment, or is it lumped into a couple of lenders?
No. Well, it's individual mortgages with individual lenders. So we have I can't remember the exact numbers, but I would say I've probably got about 15 or 20 houses with no mortgages, and it's just the way they've evolved. Do you know what I mean? So, for example, I bought a house, right? I bought a few, but obviously I bought some houses where the mortgage lender didn't lend the money, and I'm like, you're crazy. Okay, that's a good example. So there was two houses, right? Just recently, there was two houses, and we were buying them, and both of them were about £80,000 a pop. And the mortgage lender said, yeah, that's fine. So go to the house. Second one, we've changed our criteria. Now it has to be a minimum of 100,000. I said, well, I'm only buying this one for 80. It's 100. Do I know it was worth more than 80? I thought it was worth about 95. So I bought it cash for 80,000. It's probably worth about 100. No, I'll just wait a wee while longer, and when I'm ready, I'll remortgage it, get 75%, 100 or 110. I'll get my money back. So, but you can only do that once you got the momentum and got the money, because obviously starting out you can't do things like that. But yeah, so all my houses have got individual mortgages, whether they're through my name, my wife's name, or the limited company that I set up. Obviously, evolving your business. So we set up a limited company a couple of years ago when all this kind of, you know, you kind of put the interest through the business, you know. So we set up a limited company to buy properties, you know.
And is the plan to transfer them on in the limited company at some point?
No, I think the plan would just be. I mean, the thing is, I think the main thing is just keep the business growing at a steady pace. Don't get too, how can I say, don't get too cut on trying to find a way out. You know, just keep the business growing, keep the revenue coming. You know, I mean, for me, it's retirement, and then when I'm in my 60s, I'll look at inheritance tax and things like that. But it's always evolving. There's no point in looking at it the new, because I'm 52, and you know, hopefully I'll live to at least 72. So I've got a few years left still, and the rules will change. You know, the rules will change. Like there might be another new pandemic, you know, called COVID-30 or something, you know.
Well, that's a good point about, obviously, we're talking about exits here and stuff like that. Everybody says, you know, get your exit clear and stuff. So, you know, with regards to exit, do you have like, do you have kids or that? Or like, what was the reason for you? Everyone's got a reason why they get involved in property. Obviously, some build wealth, some build legacy. You know, what's your kind of plan for that retirement and exit, if you like?
So, that's a good question. So when you start in property, as I said, 20 years ago, most people that got into property fell in backwards because there was none of this. There was none of these podcasts or PIN meetings or nothing. There was nothing. You know, it's basically you're on your own. You know, it's like nothing. Anyway, so when you get into property back in the day, you kind of just got into it, and before you know it, you think, oh, I'm making a wee bit of money here. You know, I wasn't set out to make a whole load of money. It was just like, I mean, and then the penny drops, and that's when you start to think, you start going part-time and leaving your job. And that was what happened. But for me, the thing is, no, what's your exit strategy? No, that's got to sound thing. But my exit strategy has always been when I'm dead, then I'll exit, you know. So that's my exit strategy. It's never a situation that when I hit 55 or when I hit 60 or 70 or 80, I'll just keep the business growing at a steady pace. 200, 250, 300, 350. So that's what I'll do. And then I'll just like pass it on to my kids and all the rest of it. Hopefully, you know, the wee bit of generational wealth will be in there and they'll thank me, and my grandmains and my great grandmains will thank me. I don't know. I'll not be here. I'll be 6 feet under. I don't really care. But the thing is, it's about having that balance just now. So, like you mentioned earlier on, if you got a nice Range Rover, I just bought this car and it's a £90,000 car. And it's about, no, I couldn't have bought that when working in Sky. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's about having that balance. When I go on holiday, I try, I like going, my Wayne's, this is where money is good. So my Wayne's growing up. The reason why I worked all the years God send is, I'll just tell you very briefly, is I wanted my kids not to have holes in their shoes. Now that doesn't mean anything to most generations these days, but holes in the shoes back in the 70s, that's what I had. I had holes in my shoes. And I know you can get a pair of shoes for £10, you know, but for me and my brain, that, you know, so I worked all the years God send because I didn't want that for my kids. Now, I'm trying to get to a stage where, I was trying to get to a stage where I didn't have that and my kids would have a good standard of living. But to give an example, my kids turned around to me and said, this is before the pandemic, Dad, I'm fed up going to Disney. Can we not go somewhere else? Now, most kids, when they go to Disney, it's a lifetime holiday. Your mum and dad work really hard. They save up, you know, 150 quid a month. You know, it's a 10 grand holiday. 15 grand at the time you had spending. So it's not a cheapy holiday.
Tell me about it. I'm going there at the end of the year.
Don't need money left. But it's an expensive, it's a great, you'll love it. It's absolutely brilliant. But anyway, but it is a great holiday, you know, and the thing is, what I'm trying to say is you have to have that balance between growing the business and, I mean, psychologically, I could go, for example, I could go out tomorrow and buy a Rolls Royce, no problem. I could have went out, you can hear me okay? Right, I could have went out a couple of years ago and bought this Range Rover, maybe 10 years ago, but I couldn't spend that kind of money buying a Range Rover. It was too dear. Does that make sense? And so it's kind of like that way. It's kind of like, if you're starting out, you should be driving old bangers. Not old bangers, but you should be driving cheap cars. You should be, you shouldn't be buying flashy watches. I don't even wear a watch, but you shouldn't be buying flashy watches. You should never be buying designer clays. You know, you don't need a BMW. You need a car. Do you know what I'm saying? And you should be churning all the money back into growth. And that's really where you are. And reward yourself with the BMWs, with the fancy watches. If you like, nothing the matter with a watch, but only get it once you've reached that goal. You set your goal, I'm going to get 5 hoosies. When I get 5 hoosies, I'm getting myself a Rolex. 5 hoosies equals Rolex. And have that as your goal. Rolex, 5 hoosies. And then once you get it, then you can go to the next stage. But, you know, make it relative, you know.
That's a really good bit of advice, Alex. And what's your kind of, so you're talking about your exit, but what's the kind of end goal that you're going to reach at? You did touch on you wanted 200 properties by the end of the year. Is that a unit number, or is that a cash flow number, or is it a value number, a net worth number? Is you got something that you're aiming for?
So I think for me, it's just I'd like to get it up to 200, and then I set myself goals every year, but it's not a goal to just because it keeps my brain sane. Because if I don't, then I kind of I do enjoy this as well. That's another thing. You're going to have bad tenants. You're going to have people ripping you off. You're going to have chancers. You're going to have that's running a business, but that's life, isn't it? You get good people and bad people in life. But I do enjoy it. I enjoy providing good. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy meeting you guys and doing this kind of thing. And to me, it's fun. As soon as you start hating it and it comes but don't get me wrong, it's like life. You go through good times and bad times. But if you say to me it was an exit strategy, I don't really have one, as I said. It's just to keep it growing at a steady pace. Enjoy. So in say 5 years' time, I've got say 250 houses, right? So I'd probably say to myself, right, I've always fancied a Lamborghini. No, the picture, wallpaper picture, so I'll go and buy myself a Lamborghini. Right, okay, scratch that. That's it, done. Right, so I've got 250 houses. Right, what am I going to do this year? And it's that kind of continually growing. I maybe go on a cruise. I maybe pay for my pal to come with us. He's got a normal job. He's got a lot of money. Right, I'll pay you and your family. Boom. And doing things like that makes me feel it's a bit like watching kids open up presents at Christmas. So it's kind of like, so if you can help friends and family as well, and that gets you a wee bit of kind of, don't worry, I'll cover that. Do you know what I mean? Things like that, and you can do stuff like that once you get to a certain level. You can help friends and family out as well. But no, it's just keep it growing at a steady pace.
I like it, and you're obviously doing something right because you've just passed we touched on 2008, and we're talking about a global pandemic there as well. So you're probably 2 recessions or two dips in, and you're still going from strength to strength and it's constantly evolving. So you're obviously doing something right. I think the listeners should be taking a lot of what you've said as great advice, and I know we will be.
Thank you.
No, it was really, really interesting chat, Alex. Thanks very much. I was just curious, how you're saying you've got another 10 on the horizon that you're buying. How are you sourcing these properties? Have you got a reputation in local areas where people come to you, or are you just going through agents, or how's it work for the finding the properties?
So what I do is I do a multi-text. So what I do is I go into open rent, and I just put in my criteria. So it's 2-bedroom, terrace house, 20 miles from West Lothian and search. And what pops up is roughly about between 50 and 80 properties, From there, I then just basically copy and paste. I never phone them because I can't be bothered speaking to anybody. So I always copy and paste a wee text. Hi there, I'm really interested in your property. I'd like to put an offer in of 82,000, da-da-da-da-da. And that's it, boom. And I just send out all the texts or emails. Now, what happens is some of them then come back to me, it's got a closing date, especially now, it's got a closing date, or they're looking for 85, or da-da-da, and then you have to just kind of think me. But a lot of estate agents know me, and that's God's honest truth, because I buy in the same areas. So they know I'm not a time waster, they know a thing. Some of them turn around and say, well, my client said they would take your offer, but only if you come and view it. And then I flip it back to them and I say, well, I'll come and view it only if they accept my offer. You know what I mean? Or they'll turn around and say something like, right, okay, well, that's great, Mr. Walker. Would you pay an extra 2,000? And I go, well, no, not really. And I don't want my offer being used as a backup offer. So I tell you what, I've offered 80,000. And my offer's on the table till basically close the business today. And then I'm completely withdrawing it because I've seen another house that I would rather buy, but I'll take yours first. And so it's almost kind of putting that pressure back on them. We kind of flip it around because what they're wanting you, because you have to remember, I've no heart in this. I'm no tied into it. I don't care if I don't get the house. I'll go buy something else. So that's the difference, you know what I mean? So I'll then flip it back to them. So I'll tell you what, I'll put an offer in at 80,000, sorry. Put an offer in 80,000. You've asked for 82. The offer's on the table to end the business, and then I'm withdrawing it. But you need to withdraw it and then withdraw it because then you know. Usually, to be honest with you, they come back and they say, I spoke to my client. Great news. They're going to accept your offer. I know they're going to accept the offer. You know what I mean? And that's it. And then I phone up my solicitor. I use just email her. I do it even quicker. I can't even bother typing. I do a screen dump of the picture. I write on the top of it, like 80,000. You can write on your phone, 80,000, and I just post it off to the solicitor. I don't even want to type. That's how I think it. Sometimes I'll do some calls if there's a wee bit of negotiation, but honestly, and even now that still works. Even in the middle of a growing market, that still works. So there's no how can I say? There's no magic wands, and there's no kind of do a deal. No, it's just just common sense. I mean, you'll know the areas that you're in.
I mean, that's good. That's good to hear. I think that's one of the things that quite often you get people come to you and say, "How do you get hold of these deals? Where are these sources that bring you all these amazing deals?" A lot of it is, like you say, it's just hard graft. networking, contacting agents, building up relationships with agents, and then eventually stuff will start sort of going your way. But it's one of my pet hates as well. It's interesting you say there about, putting in the offers there, without going to view the places. And generally that's what you get from agents. You try and phone up, you try and discuss the price or get an idea what the clients want and that, and they won't entertain you. They'll be like, oh, would you like to book a viewing? That's their question. Would you like to book a viewing? When can I get you out to view the property? I'm like, no, can you just tell me what's their expectation? What price are they after? That's just their obviously protocol and procedures that they need to follow.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean,
sorry, anyway.
I mean, the thing is, no. I mean, the thing is, you have to remember they're on commission as well. So they want to kind of almost make their job worthwhile. Like, oh, we're showing all these people the houses, and and they're charging the client $1,500 or something. But the other thing I was going to say was, is I don't put in for 1 or 2 houses. When I'm looking for houses, I'll apply for, I would say on average about 50, 60, 70 properties at the same time. And a lot of them tell me to go and take a flying jump. But I'm not looking for 60 or 70. Maybe I'm looking for 5. So, and it's narrowing it down, and then bang, I've got, that's a good deal. And I might only get 4 out of about 40 or 50, whatever emails. I might only get 4, and then I only need to find another one. And then I found it, and then bang, then I'm ready to go again. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's really good advice, Alex. I think we should actually wrap up there. I'm trying to think. Don't want to take up too much more of your time, but we really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us and sharing your knowledge. Could you let the listeners know where they can reach out to you and where they can join you did mention you're going to be doing a PIN talk coming up.
Yeah. So it's in July next month in Edinburgh. The Edinburgh PIN. I don't know exactly what date it is, to be honest with you. Maybe you guys can stick it up in the old meeting, or we can check with Tamur, the guy that runs it. But yeah, so I'll be doing, and my talk then is actually, so anybody starting out, it's going to be ideal for you, because it's actually a beginner's guide on how to get into property and start a portfolio. And it's kind of almost a wee bit what I've touched today. So it's kind of into that and kind of growing that. And that's with the Edinburgh PIN. So yeah, get yourself signed up. You can do it doing the old Zoom thing, and it's cheap. So
that sounds like a good title for a property training course, Alex. So have you got one of them launching anytime soon?
No. I'm too busy thinking about my next car and going on holiday and all that. But I don't mind sharing with anybody. Anybody that's got any questions or whatever, email me, whatever. I'm happy if I can help anybody. It's not an issue or problem at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll look at that PIN meeting in the show notes, perhaps everybody can reach out to you and your details as well.
Thanks,
okay, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
That was a good laugh.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Alex. Much appreciated.
All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, man. So totally inspired by that, by Alex's chat. Obviously, if you're interested in hearing more, he is doing a presentation at a PIN meeting. We'll put that in the show notes. And yeah, if you guys have got a minute, please leave a review, rate podcast, head over our Facebook page and tag us on Instagram. Stephen?
Absolutely. Continue to reach out to us on social media. We enjoy getting your feedback and your response and suggestions for guests and topics to be covered on the podcast as always. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Bye for now. See you next week.
Thanks.